Good morning, my name is Josh from Cyclones Oz. Happy Saturday to all watching. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning in place now for locations between Cairns and Townsville. Intense rainfall moving through the area. We've had rainfall accumulations over the past 48 hours approach 500 millimetres. We're going to be covering all of this in today's forecast update, and we're going to be taking a look down south in Queensland as well at some thunderstorms that are meant to fire up today. And we're also going to be talking about ex-tropical cyclone Lincoln and what has happened with that messy system over around Western Australia. So a bit to get through in this Saturday morning. Make sure you stick around to the end. If you are brand new here, then please do consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. So zooming into far north Queensland right now around Cairns and Cardwell, we've got a strong thundercell that's moving through. It's a very slow moving one indeed, and there is a lot of rainfall now currently situated over the top of Innisfail. You can see it here with rainfall over the rain radar over the past 12 hours. I mean, we've just had this really heavy band of rainfall move ever so slowly down the coastline. It's been dropping some incredible rainfall totals up to 250 millimetres further today, and that's on top of some locations already receiving 400 millimetres yesterday. So we're looking at rainfall accumulations here approaching 500 to 600 millimetres, definitely on the upper echelon of what we did initially forecast for this rainfall system. We're also going to be seeing this cell move further south, and it's going to be dropping a lot of rainfall over Cardwell, Townsville and Bowen as well. You can already see a lot of moisture now starting to stream in from the north here. We've got some really, quite strong winds as well coming in from the north here, up to 41 kilometres an hour here at Lucinda. That's rather strong for this tropical sort of system here. We normally don't really see strong winds with this sort of rainfall pattern, but we do have some rather strong winds here, so the risk of damaging wind gusts is certainly there with this system, but it's definitely not the main threat. The rainfall is going to be the main threat from this system, and it comes in and I guess it almost sort of makes its landfall around the Townsville and Bowen area later today. We're going to take a look at the rainfall forecast now. You can just see how complicated and intricate this sort of system is. There'll be a lot of rainfall falling on the mountains or hills just inland from the coastline. As that rain sort of gets jammed up against those hills, the rainfall totals will skyrocket there. And you can see it throughout today. It gets really heavy sort of early this afternoon and evening, and really picks up around sort of around 5 to 7 p.m. local time, where you're seeing these rainfall totals around Bowen, about 50 millimetres to 75 millimetres per 3 hours. That's 25 millimetres an hour. You're looking at rainfall accumulations here with 25 millimetres an hour sustained for 12 hours, possibly up towards 300 to 400 millimetres in one or two locations. The good news is it will ease out of the already saturated areas around Tully and Innisfail and also Babinda by around this afternoon, hopefully in the next hour or so after this video goes out, but it is going to creep further down the coastline, and 300 to 400 millimetres through here. That's a lot of rainfall. It is tropical, this part of Australia. It's nothing I haven't seen before, but still 400 millimetres in 12 hours. It could definitely cause some problems in terms of flooding. We've already seen some rivers approach the moderate flooding levels, and I think one or two that have actually reached moderate flooding levels, but certainly a lot of rainfall is expected. We're going to take a look at rainfall accumulation for your location in the next 24 hours. You can see around Proserpine and Airlie Beach, you're looking at maybe 120 to 130 millimetres extra. Also quite a bit of rainfall around Ayr and so forth, 150 millimetres. Ayr itself, but looking out for 50 to 70 millimetres. Townsville maybe about 40. I reckon that's underestimated, and if you do flick to another forecast model, you can see that there's drastically more rainfall in the next 24 hours for some locations. In the Eastern River, I don't think it's picked up on that to the fullest extent here. But yeah, between the next 24 hours and 3 days, maybe about 50 to 100 millimetres at Townsville. I reckon there will be locations around Townsville that pick up to 200 millimetres, especially if they get themselves under the right rainfall bands. And extra, by the looks of things, maybe about 100 millimetres for areas around Tully and Babinda. I reckon that's maybe a little bit on the lower side as well, considering just how much rainfall that they're receiving right now. And if we switch it back to the radar imagery, you can see they have a really heavy band moving through right now, where we're looking at moderate to heavy rainfall totals. Now, I did cite a comment a couple of days ago about what dBZ mean. Now, that stands for decibels. And that's basically an American way to measure the intensity of the rainfall here. It doesn't really mean much. It's the colours that mean the most for the radar imagery, and you can see yellows, oranges and reds. That kind of means that we're looking out for moderate to heavy rainfall. Red's definitely on the heavier side of things, and blues and greens are more sort of lighter rainfall. But yeah, Don't be looking at the DBZ, that kind of means nothing. It's a very intricate way of measuring rainfall intensity. Just look at the pretty colours here and see what they mean. Now, between Innisfail and Tully, I would say an extra 100 millimetres is about to fall, probably before this video goes out as well. Give it another hour or so and the rainfall should slowly start to pull out of this area. But we've already seen rainfall accumulations here above 500 millimetres in the past 36 hours, so the risk of flooding is certainly there. I cited a lot of weather reports yesterday for locations up here in the comments section where we're seeing 250 millimetres overnight and the rain just won't stop, and people are loving it there. This is classic wet season weather, and it's great rainfall as well. It's rainfall that they need up here for crops and so forth, but yeah, when you start to get around 600 to 700 millimetres in a 48-hour period up here, even for Innisfail and Tully, which are the two wettest towns in Australia, you're really starting to push it in terms of what the creeks can hold here. It's pretty stupid to build property within a major flooding zone, or within the major flooding barriers of a river up here, considering that most rivers get themselves to the major flooding alerts annually, but still, major flooding can still cause some really significant problems for areas around Cairns, Tully, Innisfail, and down towards Cardwell and Ingham and Lucinda as well. Now, it's not going to be anything like the floods that Cyclone Jasper was. That was from 2,000 millimetres of rainfall. 700 millimetres, these rivers up here can handle without causing too many problems. But still, the road conditions are going to be really ugly today. There's likely going to be washouts and mudslides and so forth, especially on the more mountainous roads around here. So drive very safely. And if you don't have to drive, then just don't drive at all. It's a great day to spend indoors watching this rainfall come down. It's a Saturday. You don't need to do anything today. Just sit down, relax, and watch this rainfall come in, because the road conditions, they are going to be quite hazardous. They will be treacherous, and you don't want to end up becoming a statistic from a silly little rain ban. But yeah, this is a severe thunderstorm. It is not something to be messing around with. Road conditions, as I've said about 4 times in the past minute, are very hazardous indeed. So over the next 10 days, we're not looking out for anything significant again in terms of major rainfall accumulations between Cairns and down towards Mackay, but still, from this event over the next 24 hours, expect 100 millimetres for basically anywhere down the coastline. We're going to be seeing this northerly flow just bring a lot of rainfall ashore. It happens, but yeah, just expect quite a lot of rainfall to occur over the next 24 to 48 hours. It'll probably be easing by the 24-hour mark. Now, that's enough rabble up in the tropical north. We're going to be talking about the thunderstorm threat for today. We'll flick it back to the radar imagery because it's already got some cells starting to fire up here. You can already see 1 or 2 pretty strong cells down here. This is around Cecil Plains here. I feel like a thunderstorm tracker now, but take a look at this one. That's on the stronger end of things there, and that looks like that one might go severe pretty soon as well. Nothing interesting firing up on satellite imagery just yet, though. We'll have to wait till later today to really see some action firing up on satellite imagery. If you're looking at the infrared satellite imagery, you're looking for colours that are around the blacks and whites and so forth. That's where you're seeing strong thunderstorms. This is very, very weak thunderstorm activity here, so nothing to be concerned about right now. But you can see right now it looks like the rainfall is just about to start picking up for parts of northern New South Wales on the back end of that cold front, on what I said yesterday would be the dry line. I'll get into that in just a minute. And yeah, it looks like these storms might move into Queensland as well. Probably only going to be 1 or 2 cells that go severe. It'll be later tonight and into earlier tomorrow morning where we see the really severe cells with the heavy rainfall around the Brisbane metropolitan area, maybe in towards Toowoomba and Ipswich and so forth. The New South Wales ones look pretty tame now. I think the forecast upplayed them just a little bit too much the other day. But yeah, we're going to see this low pressure system just set itself up offshore. We just switched over to the Access G3 model. This could also mean we see a lot of rainfall driven ashore around Coffs Harbour and so forth, which is a factor that we need to be watching over the next 24 hours. I would say the risk of a really significant deluge happening around here, it's there, but it's not high and it's not worth worrying about right now. But still, there is a chance that if this low pressure system sets itself up just offshore, that we wake up tomorrow and we see 200 millimetres fall in one location. So yeah, we'll have to be watching the weather radars very closely. Just snapped at the Bureau of Meteorology throughout today. Thunderstorms generally very unpredictable, and same with these, tropical lows that set themselves up just offshore. They can be very unpredictable in the sense of how much rainfall that they drop. Over the next 5 days across the eastern states, not seeing anything stand out in terms of big thunderstorm activity. Looks like Tasmania might get a drop or 2 of rain. Adelaide won't get any meaningful rainfall at all. Same with Melbourne, maybe 5 millimetres in either locations, and and again, that will probably be dropped. The models are just saying something to be there. Looks like we might actually see a tropical low fire up again in the Northern Territory around Darwin area. We've got a nice little band of moisture that's expected to come ashore from that enhanced monsoon this evening and into tomorrow morning, but I reckon that we might see this spin itself up into a tropical low by Monday or Tuesday, which is actually a lot closer than what we expected. So this one might actually catch a few people off guard, but yeah, it's certainly an area that we're going to have to be watching now, considering we've just had a tropical low spin up on the forecast, and by the looks of things it tries and becomes a cyclone here by Wednesday, and this is the first I've seen of this. I haven't been paying the closest attention up to the north. I've been tied up with ex-tropical cyclone Lincoln and also a bunch of other forecasts around the nation, so I have completely missed this, to be honest. So I don't know if this just came onto the forecast, but considering this is only 4 days away now, we're going to be watching this very closely, see if it gets killed off next update. I don't think there's too much model support from the east, and we're still calling for something just offshore though, so once again, something we're going to have to be watching quite closely. Yeah, it doesn't look like it becomes a cyclone, but it does get awfully close. And that's where we see this really heavy amount of rainfall over the next 5 days, 200 to 300, maybe even 400 millimeters up here. So Darwin, looks like tomorrow might be a wet day for you guys up there. We'll see how things play out, but there's certainly the risk of some pretty heavy rainfall up there, which would be great because I know how much they love the rainfall up there. Now, Perth and West Australian viewers, Perth, you've probably woken to a spit or two of rainfall this morning. You can probably hear it in the background of this video, actually. It's beautiful stuff. I've missed this rainfall. But yeah, there is some rainfall coming down towards Perth, Jurien Bay, Lancelin, that sort of area over the next day or so. I think it's tomorrow, yeah, Sunday. So Sunday afternoon, we could be seeing some pretty significant rainfall totals down here from ex-tropical cyclone Lincoln. Now, this has been a really annoying system to track. There is no chance that this system becomes a tropical cyclone, and the reason I say that is just look at how much lightning is around the storm center right now. It looks healthy in terms of what thunderstorms it's blowing up, but there should not be anywhere near that much lightning around the storm center in a developing tropical cyclone. It's got no organization whatsoever. It looks absolutely crap on the radar imagery. It doesn't know where its center is, and it's really... yeah, it's not a healthy looking system at all, and there's a very slim chance that this now becomes a tropical cyclone. Still though, cyclone warning for locations between, I think it's Exmouth down towards Mingaloo and Coral Bay, so there is still the risk of cyclonic winds developing around the coastline. I do reckon we will see cyclonic winds develop around the coastline, but I don't think it's going to ever become a cyclone in terms of an organisation status. So yeah, it has done really poorly in some pretty favourable conditions, just like all three systems that we've seen this year. It's a bit of a trend with systems this season where they get fed some of the best conditions possible and they just bust out on us. So I don't know what is happening this year. It is quite weird indeed. I mean, Cyclone Jasper had some really good conditions just close to the coastline and it didn't really make the most of them. It could have made a landfall as a Category 3 with those conditions, but it really didn't. And don't even get me started on Cyclone Kirrily. That was meant to be a Category 4 as per the conditions that Cyclone Kirrily had. So don't know what happened there. That's an interesting case study, that's for sure. And then Lincoln here, I mean, there was nothing stopping this from getting to Category 5 status. Those sea surface temperatures were beautiful, but I think it was wind shear that ended up getting to this system. And wind shear is the change of direction or change of wind speed in the upper atmosphere compared to the lower atmosphere. Now, that is very good for thunderstorms because it can allow the thunderstorms to rotate, spin themselves around, and really make the most of their environment and get all the moisture out of the area that they possibly can. But it's bad for tropical cyclones because they need to be organized, and when you see winds blow around the mid-levels and so forth, that really harms their organisation. They won't be able to adequately organise into a tropical cyclone properly. So that's why this system has done appallingly in some relatively favourable conditions. We will still take a look at rainfall accumulation over the next 5 days because areas around Shark Bay up towards Carnarvon, we could be seeing rainfall totals approaching 25 to 50 millimetres, maybe even 75 in one or two locations. Nothing crazy. It's going to be the majority of the rainfall falling inland across West Australia, around the wheat belt and so forth, maybe even into the goldfields. We could be seeing widespread totals above 40 to 45 millimetres, and let me tell you, my family owns property out in the wheat belt and we are desperate for this rainfall. We need it bad out there because we've planted about 300 or 400 trees in the past year, and this rainfall would take the pressure off us to have to go down there every single weekend, drive 150 kilometres down there every single weekend and water them with a watering can. So this rainfall would be much appreciated, and it should kickstart a little bit of growth. It'd be a great way to start the cropping season. I know it's still February and you've got to give it a couple of months until the proper rainfall arrives, but it'd be a nice little breather to all the soils around here to get a big widespread swathe of 40 millimeters or so, which looks like it's going to happen. So I think farmers are going to be very, very excited for this one. I am so excited for the amount of rainfall that Perth is going to be getting, up to 25 millimeters, which would be our first significant rainfall since September. So we've had it really tough over in Perth in terms of rainfall as well, considering we're not a desert city. We shouldn't be this dry throughout summer. So yeah, it's good to see some rainfall down there, and the forecasts are only getting wetter. And we've woken to rainfall today. We've already had a couple of millimeters today, and this rainfall has no signs of stopping, not at least in the next hour. So I'm expecting today we're going to be getting a little bit more rainfall. There'll be an update on all of this stuff later tonight if things change or things get really big and nasty, especially with the Queensland systems. That'll have to be after I finish work, but I'm only working half a day today, so it's not a big deal. But anyways, just enjoy your Saturday today, especially up in tropical Queensland. The rainfall's bad, but it's nothing crazy, so just stay inside, stay off the roads, stay safe, and get into those beers. What's happening on the sport today? I think there might be a cricket match or something on to keep yourself entertained, or so forth. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, just kick your feet up, because there's no point in going outside, making yourself busy in rainfall like this, especially as well for areas expected to be impacted by ex-tropical cyclone Lincoln between Exmouth and Carnarvon. You've got an excuse to stay inside today and really just watch this storm come through, especially if you've got a good view of the ocean. I think the forecast for tourists, where they're all saying for tourists to evacuate and so forth around Coral Bay and so forth, I think that might be a little bit excessive. This is just going to be a big thunderstorm, basically. It will have some strong winds in it, maybe up towards 80 or 90 kilometers an hour, so it will be a rough night, that's for sure, tomorrow night, or tonight as it makes its landfall into tomorrow morning, but I don't think it's going to be crazy enough to promote tourists having to leave the area. But anyways, really starting to waffle on here. Thanks so much for your company this morning. Please do consider leaving a like, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There'll be more updates tonight and into tomorrow morning, and I'll catch you on the next storm. Goodbye.